The massive alien ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Captain Zethkar stood on the bridge of the stellar wind, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he watched the blue and green planet on the main screen. His crew moved around him with practiced efficiency, running scans and preparing for what they all assumed would be another routine first contact mission. "Scan results coming in, Captain," reported Science Officer Velteran from her station. The reptilian alien's voice carried the same bored tone that marked most of these encounters with primitive species. The third planet shows signs of early industrial civilization. Electromagnetic emissions suggest they have basic radio technology and primitive spaceflight capabilities. Zethkar nodded slowly. This was exactly what the Galactic Council had expected. Another young species, taking its first stumbling steps toward the stars. Another group of primitives who would benefit greatly from proper guidance and protection. The Vorthak Empire had performed this same duty dozens of times over the past century. "Any signs of advanced technology?" Zethkar asked, though he already knew the answer. "Nothing significant, Captain. Their largest spacecraft appear to be crude chemical rocket systems. Their energy production is still based on burning fossil fuels and some early atomic fission, quite typical for a species at this development level." On Earth, Dr. Lisa Morgan sat in the underground control center of the International Space Monitoring Initiative. Banks of computers surrounded her, their screens showing data streams from satellites and deep space sensors. She had been tracking the alien vessel for the past 6 hours, ever since it appeared on the outer edge of their detection grid. "Jake, are you getting clean readings on that ship?" she called to her communications specialist. Jake Williams looked up from his console, his face pale. "Clean as we can get, Doc. The thing is huge, at least 3 miles long, and putting out energy signatures that make our biggest nuclear plants look like birthday candles." Dr. Carl Peterson, the team's xenobiologist, leaned over Jake's shoulder to study the readings. "The hull composition is unlike anything we have on record, some kind of crystalline metal that seems to bend light around it. And those energy patterns suggest they have mastered some form of matter manipulation technology." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. Everything in those readings suggested they were dealing with a civilization far beyond human capabilities. She picked up the secure phone that connected directly to the United Nations headquarters. "This is Dr. Morgan. Please patch me through to President Brooks immediately. We have a situation." 3 hours later, the alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere. It moved without any visible means of propulsion, simply gliding through the air as if gravity was merely a suggestion. The massive vessel settled over New York City, casting a shadow that covered half of Manhattan. Ambassador Crixmoth materialized in the UN Assembly Hall in a column of blue light. The alien stood nearly 8 feet tall, his insectoid features both elegant and intimidating. Behind him, 2 more figures appeared. The delegation had arrived. President Helen Brooks stepped forward to greet them, flanked by her security detail and a team of translators. She had been briefed on first contact protocols, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "I am Helen Brooks, President of the United States and current chair of the United Nations Security Council." Crixmoth studied her with large, multifaceted eyes. When he spoke, his words came through a translation device that gave his voice an oddly mechanical quality. "Greetings, primitive leader. I am Ambassador Crixmoth of the Galactic Council. We have come to offer your species protection and guidance as you begin your journey toward true civilization." The words hit Helen like a slap. Primitive leader. The condescension was clear, even through the translator. She kept her expression neutral. "We appreciate your visit, Ambassador. Perhaps we could discuss what form this guidance might take." "Of course," Crixmoth replied. "Your species shows promise, despite your current limitations. We have observed your crude attempts at spaceflight and your basic understanding of atomic energy. With proper instruction, you may one day join the galactic community as a junior member species." End quote. Behind the alien delegation, Captain Zethkar and his science team began setting up their equipment. They worked with casual efficiency, clearly viewing this as routine. Holographic displays showed examples of their technology: energy weapons that could level mountains, ships that could cross the galaxy in days, devices that could reshape matter at the molecular level. As you can see, Crixmoth continued, we possess technologies that your species cannot yet comprehend. This is why the Galactic Council exists, to protect young civilizations from the dangers of the galaxy and guide them safely toward advancement. Dr. Morgan watched the demonstration from the observation gallery above the assembly hall. Something about the alien technology bothered her, though she could not quite put her finger on what. The energy patterns looked familiar somehow, like an echo of something she had seen before. Jake, she whispered into her communicator. Are you recording all of this? Every bit of it, Doc. The energy signatures, the matter manipulation, all of it. Good. I want a full analysis as soon as possible. Something about this feels wrong. Down on the assembly floor, Crixmoth was explaining the benefits of Galactic Council protection. Safe passage through space. Access to basic technologies appropriate for humanity's development level. Protection from hostile species who might otherwise exploit or destroy primitive worlds. And what do you ask in return? President Brooks inquired. Very little, the ambassador replied. Simply accept our guidance in your development. Allow us to establish monitoring stations to ensure your safety. Agree to follow Galactic Council regulations regarding space travel and technology development. Standard protections for any junior species. Helen exchanged glances with her advisors. The offer sounded reasonable on the surface, but the implications were clear. Humanity would become a protected species, like animals in a zoo. Their development would be controlled and limited by alien oversight. This is a significant decision, she said carefully. We would need time to consider your generous offer. Crixmoth's expression seemed to darken. Of course. Young species often require time to understand the benefits of our protection. However, I must warn you that the galaxy can be dangerous for unprotected civilizations. Pirates, slavers, and worse things hunt among the stars. Without our guidance, your species faces certain destruction. The threat was subtle, but unmistakable. Accept protection, or face the consequences. Captain Zethkar stepped forward, his reptilian features showing what might have been amusement. Perhaps a demonstration would help them understand the realities of galactic civilization. The alien captain gestured to one of his devices. A holographic star map appeared in the air above them, showing the local galactic arm. Dozens of red markers indicated the locations of species that had refused Galactic Council protection. Each of these markers represents a civilization that chose to remain independent, Zethkar explained. As you can see, none of them exist anymore. The galaxy is harsh to those who refuse wisdom. Dr. Morgan felt her blood run cold as she studied the map. But something else caught her attention. The positioning of the markers followed a pattern, almost like a grid, as if they had been placed deliberately rather than destroyed randomly. She activated her communicator again. Carl, I need you to run a spectral analysis on those alien devices. Compare the energy signatures to everything in our archaeological database. Our archaeological database? Carl's voice sounded confused. Doc, what are you thinking? Just do it. And cross-reference with the classified reports from the Antarctic dig sites. As the alien demonstration continued below, Lisa Morgan began to suspect that humanity's first contact with galactic civilization was not what it seemed. The energy patterns, the technology signatures, even the mathematical principles underlying their devices all felt hauntingly familiar. She had a terrible feeling that Earth was about to discover something that would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. Over the next 48 hours, more alien ships arrived in Earth's orbit. The crystalline vessels of the Shalvari appeared first, their translucent hulls refracting sunlight into rainbow patterns across the sky. Then came the organic-looking craft of the Krexnali, ships that seemed to be grown rather than built. Finally, the energy beings called Ethmorians arrived in vessels that appeared to be made of pure light. Each species sent their own delegation to Earth. Each carried the same message of protection and guidance for the primitive humans. Each looked upon humanity with the same mixture of pity and condescension. Dr. Lisa Morgan had not slept since the first alien contact. Her team worked around the clock, analyzing every scrap of data they could gather from the alien technology demonstrations. What they were discovering made no sense, yet the evidence was undeniable. "Jake, show me those communication intercepts again," Lisa said, rubbing her tired eyes. Jake Williams pulled up the holographic display, showing the alien message traffic they had managed to decode. Their encryption is based on a mathematical sequence that follows the golden ratio. But Doc, here's the weird part. We found the exact same sequence carved into stone tablets at the Sumerian dig site in Iraq. Dr. Carl Peterson looked up from his own analysis. It gets stranger than that. I've been studying the biological samples the aliens provided during the cultural exchange. Every single species shows genetic markers that suggest artificial modification. Someone, or something, altered their evolution at the molecular level. Lisa felt pieces of a puzzle clicking together in her mind, but the picture they formed seemed impossible. "Carl, what kind of genetic modifications are we talking about? Enhanced intelligence, improved physical capabilities, extended lifespans. The modifications are so advanced and so old that they've become part of their natural evolution. But here's what really bothers me." Carl hesitated. "The genetic signature of whoever did the modifications matches theoretical models we've developed for advanced human genetic engineering." Before Lisa could respond, her secure phone rang. Admiral Roy Clark's voice came through the encrypted connection. "Dr. Morgan, I need you and your team at Cheyenne Mountain immediately. Bring all your alien analysis data." 2 hours later, Lisa found herself in an elevator descending far deeper into the mountain than any publicly known facility should go. Admiral Clark, a stern man in his 60s, rode beside her in silence. When the elevator finally stopped, she emerged into a command center that looked decades ahead of current human technology. "Welcome to Deep Six," Admiral Clark said. "This facility has been operational since 1952, though very few people know it exists." The command center buzzed with activity. Technicians monitored screens, showing energy patterns that looked remarkably similar to the alien technology signatures Lisa had been analyzing. At the center of the room stood Dr. Nina Foster, an archaeologist Lisa knew by reputation, and Dr. Kevin Hayes, a quantum physicist from MIT. "Dr. Morgan," Nina Foster approached with excitement in her voice. "Admiral Clark tells me you've been analyzing alien technology. I need to show you something." Nina led Lisa to a massive display screen showing archaeological sites from around the world. Göbekli Tepe, in Turkey. The Antikythera mechanism from Greece. Stone structures in Peru. Carvings in Egypt. Each site was marked with energy signature readings. "We've been studying these sites for 70 years, Nina explained. "Every single one shows technology signatures that match what our satellites are detecting from the alien fleet. The mathematical principles, the energy patterns, even the quantum resonance frequencies are identical." Dr. Kevin Hayes joined them at the display. "6 months ago, we achieved a breakthrough in understanding the quantum mechanics behind these ancient artifacts. We discovered that they're all connected through a subspace network that spans the entire galaxy." Lisa stared at the data in disbelief. "You're saying these ancient Earth sites are connected to alien technology?" "Not alien technology," Admiral Clark interrupted. "Human technology. Very old human technology." The Admiral led them to another section of the command center where a massive vault door stood open. Inside, Lisa could see technology that made the alien demonstrations look primitive by comparison. Smooth, curved surfaces that seemed to bend light. Control panels that responded to thought rather than touch. Energy conduits that hummed with barely contained power. We found this facility buried under 2 miles of ice in Antarctica, Admiral Clark explained. Carbon dating puts the construction at over 50,000 years ago. But the technology inside is more advanced than anything the aliens have shown us. Jake Williams, who had been quietly studying the displays, suddenly spoke up. Admiral, I've been monitoring the alien communication traffic. They're getting nervous. Something about energy readings they can't explain. On cue, the main display screen showed a transmission from the alien fleet. Captain Zethkar's scaled face appeared, his expression clearly agitated. Human leaders, we require an immediate explanation for the energy anomalies we are detecting from your planet. Our sensors indicate the presence of advanced technology that should not exist on a primitive world. President Brooks, who had been briefed on the facility during the flight to Cheyenne Mountain, stepped forward to respond. Captain Zethkar, perhaps primitive, is not the best word to describe humanity. The alien captain's eyes narrowed. Explain these readings immediately, or we will be forced to investigate more directly. Admiral Clark gestured to Kevin Hayes, who began activating systems throughout the underground facility. On the screens around them, similar facilities came online across the globe. Hidden installations under the ocean, buried complexes in desert regions, ancient monuments that suddenly revealed themselves to be far more than simple stone structures. Your scans are detecting our defensive systems, President Brooks said calmly. Systems that have been protecting this world for thousands of years. Captain Zethkar's expression shifted from irritation to confusion. Impossible. Your species has barely achieved chemical rocket propulsion. You cannot possess technology of this sophistication. Dr. Lisa Morgan stepped into view of the communication screen. Captain, I've been analyzing your technology for the past 2 days. Your matter manipulation devices operate on quantum principles first theorized by ancient human mathematicians. Your energy weapons use focusing crystals that match geological samples from Earth's moon. Your faster-than-light communication system follows protocols that are carved into stone tablets in our oldest archaeological sites. The alien captain fell silent, clearly processing this information. Behind him, Science Officer Velteran was frantically working at her console, running additional scans of Earth's surface. Captain, Velteran reported, her voice carrying a note of panic. The quantum resonance patterns from Earth match theoretical signatures for Forerunner technology. But that's impossible. The Forerunners disappeared millions of years ago. Ambassador Crixmoth's voice came through the communication channel, though his image was not visible. Captain Zethkar, report to my vessel immediately. We need to contact the High Council on Nexus Prime. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the human command center in tense silence. Admiral Clark turned to address the assembled team. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation just became significantly more complicated. For 70 years, we've been preparing for the day when humanity would need to reveal its true nature. That day has arrived. Dr. Kevin Hayes continued activating ancient systems throughout the facility. Each activation sent energy pulses through the subspace network, awakening installations on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. On the main screen, they could see the alien fleet moving into defensive positions, clearly alarmed by the massive power readings emanating from what they had assumed was a primitive planet. Nina, Admiral Clark said to the archaeologist, it's time to open the historical archives. Dr. Morgan, I need your team to establish communication with our installations on Mars and Luna. They've been dormant for decades, but the quantum wake-up calls should have them coming online. Lisa felt as though she was living in a dream. Admiral, are you telling me that humans have been living on Mars and the Moon for decades? Not living, exactly, Admiral Clark replied. But we've had automated systems there since long before NASA was even founded. Systems built using technology we've reverse-engineered from facilities like this one. As the ancient human installations across Earth came fully online, the energy readings visible to the alien fleet increased exponentially. What had appeared to be a primitive world was revealing technological capabilities that rivaled or exceeded anything in the current galactic civilization. Jake Williams monitored the alien communication channels as panic spread through their fleet. Species that had viewed humans as primitive children were suddenly faced with the reality that Earth possessed technology they couldn't even understand. "Doc," Jake said quietly to Lisa, "I'm picking up encrypted communications between the alien ships and something called the High Council. They keep using a word that the translator renders as ancients or forerunners. And they sound scared." Dr. Carl Peterson, still analyzing the biological data, looked up with a startling realization. "Dr. Morgan, if these aliens were genetically modified by an advanced human civilization, and if these installations are human technology from thousands of years ago, then we're not meeting alien civilizations," Lisa finished the thought. "We're meeting our own descendants." The implications hung in the air like a charged storm cloud. Humanity was not about to join galactic civilization as a primitive junior species. Humanity was about to reclaim its position as the galaxy's elder race. The alien fleet maintained orbit around Earth for 3 days, while frantic communications flowed between the various species and their homeworlds. "Doctor," Lisa Morgan watched the intercepted traffic with growing amazement as the true scope of the situation became clear. "They're terrified," Jake Williams reported from his communication station. "The High Council on Nexus Prime has been in emergency session since yesterday. They keep referencing something called the Great Catastrophe and the disappearance of the first builders." Admiral Clark stood before the main display, which now showed energy readings from across the solar system. Hidden installations were coming online everywhere. The moon showed dozens of active sites. Mars displayed massive underground complexes that had been dormant for millennia. Even the asteroid belt revealed construction facilities that dwarfed anything humanity was supposed to possess. "Dr. Morgan," Admiral Clark said, "we need to access the primary archive in Antarctica. It's time the human race learned its own history." 6 hours later, Lisa found herself standing in a transport aircraft flying over the vast white expanse of Antarctica. Beside her sat Dr. Nina Foster, Dr. Carl Peterson, Dr. Kevin Hayes, and a team of military specialists. The destination was a coordinate that officially did not exist on any map. The aircraft landed on what appeared to be solid ice. But as they approached the landing zone, the ice began to shift and move. Massive sections slid apart, revealing a landing platform built from the same crystalline metal they had seen in the alien ships, but somehow more refined and elegant. "The vault has been sealed since 1952, Admiral Clark explained as they descended into the underground complex. "We've only managed to access the outer chambers. The inner sections require a genetic key that our technology cannot replicate." The entrance tunnel stretched for nearly a mile, its walls covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change as they walked. Dr. Nina Foster ran her hand along the markings, her excitement barely contained. "These aren't just decorations," she said. "They're some kind of information storage system. Look how they respond to body heat and bioelectric fields." As they reached the main entrance to the vault, a massive door began to slide open. No one had touched any controls. No one had entered any codes. The door simply recognized them as human and granted access. The chamber beyond took Lisa's breath away. The space stretched upward for hundreds of feet, its ceiling lost in shadows. Holographic displays covered every surface, showing star maps, genetic charts, technological schematics, and historical records. At the center of the chamber stood a control platform that seemed to be waiting for them. Dr. Kevin Hayes approached the controls cautiously. "The quantum field here is incredible. It's like the entire chamber exists partially outside normal space-time." As Kevin's hands neared the control surface, the chamber came alive. Holographic figures appeared throughout the space, showing humans in advanced technology suits working alongside the various alien species they had recently encountered. But in these ancient recordings, the roles were reversed. The humans were clearly the leaders and teachers, while the alien species were the students and workers. A central hologram activated, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. Thousands of worlds were marked with human symbols. Trade routes, communication networks, and defensive installations spanned the entire galactic arm. It was a civilization of unimaginable scope and power. "My God," Dr. Carl Peterson whispered, "we built all of this." The historical records began playing automatically, as if the vault had been waiting for humans to return. The story they told was staggering. Millions of years ago, humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel and began exploring the galaxy. They found worlds with primitive life and carefully guided their evolution. They built vast cities among the stars and created a peaceful galactic civilization. But then came the great catastrophe. The hologram showed massive gravitational distortions tearing through space, black holes converging in patterns that threatened to destroy the galaxy's structure. The cause was unclear from the fragments they could access, but the result was devastation on a cosmic scale. "Look at this section, Doctor," Nina Foster called out, studying a portion of the display. "It shows the human response to the crisis. They didn't run. They didn't hide. They fought back." The records showed humans working frantically to stabilize galactic structure itself. Massive engineering projects that involved moving stars and redirecting the paths of black holes. Technology that made their current alien visitors look like children playing with simple tools. But the effort came at a terrible cost. To prevent universal collapse, humanity had to retreat to their origin world and enter a form of species-wide hibernation, while their automated systems worked to prevent cosmic destruction. The other species, cut off from human guidance, forgot their origins over millions of years and developed their own myths about the mysterious ancients who had shaped their evolution. Dr. Lisa Morgan studied the genetic records with growing understanding. "Carl, look at these DNA patterns. Every alien species we've encountered shows signs of human genetic influence. We didn't just guide their evolution. We created them." Jake Williams, monitoring communications from the surface, interrupted with urgent news. "Dr. Morgan, the alien fleet is getting reinforcements. I count at least 300 ships now, and they're taking defensive positions. The communication traffic suggests they've reached some kind of decision." Admiral Clark activated his secure communication system. "All surface installations, this is Deep Command. Prepare for possible hostile action. Authorization, Omega-7. Across the Earth, hidden facilities began powering weapons systems that had been dormant for decades. The ocean installations rose from the deep. Mountain complexes revealed themselves as massive defensive platforms. The ancient monuments showed their true purpose as the planet's integrated defense network came online. But it was the space-based installations that truly demonstrated humanity's capabilities. Ships that had been disguised as asteroids for centuries revealed themselves. Construction facilities on the dark side of the moon began producing vessels using technology that made the alien fleet look primitive. Within hours, Earth was surrounded by a defensive force that outclassed the alien visitors by orders of magnitude. Captain Zethkar's voice came through the communication system, no longer carrying any trace of condescension. "Human leaders, we demand an explanation for these impossible capabilities. No primitive species could possess such technology." President Brooks, now fully briefed on humanity's true history, appeared on the communication screen. Behind her stood the senior staff from the Antarctic Vault. "Captain Zethkar, I believe there has been a misunderstanding about which species is primitive in this situation." The alien captain's scaled features showed confusion and growing fear. "You claim to possess technology that rivals the legendary Forerunners. But such claims are impossible. The ancients vanished millions of years ago." Dr. Lisa Morgan stepped into view of the communication pickup. "Captain, the ancients didn't vanish. We went to sleep, and now we've woken up." She gestured to Kevin Hayes, who activated a portion of the vault's communication array. The signal that went out was transmitted on quantum frequencies that penetrated every corner of the galaxy instantly. On 1,000 worlds, buried installations began responding to the wake-up call. Ancient human technology that had been dormant for millions of years, started coming back online. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate. Their sensors detected energy signatures, identical to the mythical Forerunner technology from galactic folklore. Every species had legends about the ancients who had guided their early development, but none had believed the stories were literally true. Ambassador Crixmoth's voice came through the communication channel, carrying a note of panic. The quantum resonance patterns match archived records from the First Age. But this is impossible. The Forerunners were destroyed in the Great Catastrophe. Not destroyed, President Brooks replied calmly. We prevented the catastrophe. Then we retreated to heal and recover. While our automated systems maintained galactic stability, we've been waiting for the right time to return to active leadership. The holographic displays in the vault showed the current state of galactic civilization. The alien species had developed impressive technology, but they were using principles and techniques originally developed by ancient humanity. They had built their entire civilization on the foundation laid by their creators, never realizing the truth about their origins. Dr. Carl Peterson accessed the genetic databases, confirming what they had suspected. Every major galactic species showed signs of human genetic intervention. The proud Vorthak were descendants of primitive reptiles that humans had uplifted millions of years ago. The crystalline Shalvari had been guided from simple silicon-based organisms into sentient crystal beings. Even the energy-based Ethmorians were the result of human experiments in consciousness transfer. We didn't just build galactic civilization, Lisa realized. We are galactic civilization. Every species, every world, every piece of advanced technology they possess traces back to human influence. The alien fleet found itself in an impossible position. They had come to subjugate a primitive species, and instead discovered their own creators had returned. The defensive capabilities being displayed by Earth were beyond anything in their current arsenals. Worse, the ancient installations throughout the galaxy were beginning to respond to human control signals. Jake Williams monitored the increasingly frantic communications between the alien ships and their home worlds. Doc, they're trying to decide whether to fight or surrender. Some of the military commanders want to attack before Earth's defenses reach full power. Others are saying it would be suicide to fight the ancients. Admiral Clark studied the tactical displays, showing the positions of both fleets. Earth's defensive force was now larger than the alien fleet, and every ship was built using technology that the aliens couldn't even comprehend. But the Admiral knew that military superiority was not the real issue here. Dr. Morgan, he said quietly, I think it's time to explain to our children why their parents had to leave them alone for so long. The moment of revelation was at hand. Humanity was about to reclaim its position as the galaxy's elder race. But first, they had to convince their own descendants that the return of the ancients was not a conquest, but a long overdue family reunion. The standoff in Earth's orbit lasted only 6 hours before the first shots were fired. War Admiral Theknon of the Vorthak Supremacy refused to accept the human claims of ancient ancestry. His battle group of 50 ships broke formation and opened fire on the nearest Earth vessel. The human ship, sleek and silver like liquid mercury, simply phased through the incoming energy blasts, as if they were made of light. Its return fire was precise and controlled, targeting only the alien ship's weapon systems. Within seconds, Theknon's flagship was disabled, but undamaged. Impossible. The War Admiral snarled over the communication channel. No technology can phase through directed energy weapons. Captain Jake Williams, now commanding the restored Earth flagship Terra Prima, responded calmly. Admiral, your weapons are based on principles we developed 3 million years ago. Did you really think we hadn't improved them since then? From the Antarctic vault, Dr. Lisa Morgan watched the battle displays with mixed emotions. The human ships moved through space like dancers, their technology so advanced that the alien attacks seemed like children throwing stones at armored vehicles. But she felt no satisfaction in the demonstration of superiority. Kevin, can you access more of the historical records? She asked Dr. Hayes, who was working at the vault's central control platform. I want to understand why we left them in the first place. The holographic displays shifted to show detailed records of the Great Catastrophe. The images were difficult to comprehend, showing gravitational distortions on a cosmic scale. Black holes were converging in patterns that would have torn the galaxy apart. Stars were being pulled from their orbits. Entire solar systems were collapsing into singularities. The cause was artificial, Kevin realized as he studied the data. Someone or something was deliberately destabilizing galactic structure. But who would have that kind of power? Dr. Carl Peterson, monitoring the genetic databases, looked up with a grim expression. According to these records, we weren't the only advanced species in the galaxy. There was another civilization, older and more aggressive than humans. They called themselves the Devourers. The historical records revealed a cosmic war that had raged for millions of years. The Devourers consumed entire star systems, converting matter directly into energy to feed their ever-growing appetite for power. They saw younger species as either resources to be harvested or obstacles to be eliminated. Humanity had spent centuries trying to negotiate peace, but the Devourers were driven by an insatiable hunger that made coexistence impossible. The final confrontation had nearly destroyed the galaxy itself. "We won, Doctor," Nina Foster said, reading through the tactical reports. But barely. The cost was so high that we had to choose between maintaining our galactic civilization and preventing universal collapse. The records showed the terrible decision humanity had been forced to make. To stop the gravitational cascade that would have destroyed the galaxy, they needed to redirect enormous amounts of energy using precise calculations that required millions of years to complete. The automated systems could handle the task, but only if they were protected from interference. So humanity had retreated to their origin world, placing themselves in a form of suspended animation while their technology worked to heal the galaxy. The other species, cut off from human guidance, had been left to develop on their own, with only automated systems to protect them from cosmic threats. In Earth's orbit, the battle continued. More alien ships had joined the attack, driven by fear and pride rather than military logic. The human vessels responded with overwhelming technological superiority, but their weapons were clearly designed to disable rather than destroy. Admiral Roy Clark, commanding the defense from his position at Cheyenne Mountain, opened a communication channel to the entire alien fleet. "This is Admiral Clark of Earth Defense Command. We are not your enemies. We are your creators, your protectors, and your family. Please stand down before you force us to use more serious measures." Captain Zeethkar of the Stellar Wind found himself caught between orders from his superiors and the evidence of his own sensors. The human ships displayed technology that matched every description of Forerunner capabilities from ancient galactic records. Their quantum signatures were identical to archaeological artifacts found on dozens of worlds. Most importantly, their tactics showed a complete understanding of every alien weapon system and defensive measure. "Science Officer Velteran," he said quietly, "run a comparative analysis between human technology signatures and the Forerunner artifacts in our cultural museums." The results appeared on his screen within minutes. Every piece of Forerunner technology in Vorthak museums showed identical quantum resonance patterns to the human ships. The mathematical principles underlying their most sacred artifacts matched perfectly with the weapons being used against them. "Captain," Velteran reported, her voice barely above a whisper, "the analysis confirms human claims. They are the ancients." The revelation spread through the alien fleet as individual ship commanders reached the same conclusion. Species after species recognized the truth they had been refusing to accept. The humans were not pretending to be the legendary Forerunners. They actually were the ancients, returned from their long exile. But War Admiral Theknon refused to surrender. His pride could not accept defeat at the hands of beings he had considered primitives just days earlier. He gathered the most militant commanders from each species and prepared for a final assault. "Even if they are the ancients," he declared over the military communication network, "they abandoned us for millions of years. We have built our own civilization without their help. We owe them nothing." The rebel fleet, nearly 100 ships strong, formed up for a coordinated attack on Earth's primary defensive installations. They had decided to test whether ancient human technology could stand against the combined might of modern galactic civilization. The answer came swiftly and decisively. Earth's defensive grid activated fully for the first time in millions of years. Energy shields that spanned continents deflected every attack. Weapons platforms hidden in Earth's crust fired precisely targeted beams that disabled the rebel ships without harming their crews. Most impressive of all, the human vessels began capturing enemy ships intact, using tractor beam technology that the aliens couldn't even detect. Within 30 minutes, the rebel fleet was completely neutralized. Not a single alien had been killed, but every ship was disabled and under human control. The demonstration of restraint was as impressive as the display of power. Dr. Lisa Morgan watched the final moments of the battle from the vault's observation deck. The sight of human ships gently towing disabled alien vessels to safety filled her with pride, but also with sadness for how far their children had fallen from the ideals of their creators. "Jake," she said into her communicator, "patch me through to the alien fleet commanders. It's time they learned the whole truth." Her image appeared on screens throughout the alien fleet, broadcast from the Antarctic vault, with its ancient human technology providing backdrop. Behind her, the holographic displays showed the true history of galactic civilization in all its glory and tragedy. "Commanders of the Galactic Council Fleet," she began. "My name is Dr. Lisa Morgan. I stand in a facility built by your ancestors 3 million years ago, during the height of human galactic civilization. You came here believing you were offering protection to a primitive species. Instead, you have discovered that the primitive species created you." She gestured to the historical displays showing the genetic modification programs that had guided alien evolution. "Every one of your species exists because ancient humans found your worlds and helped you develop from simple organisms into the intelligent beings you are today. We taught you language, mathematics, science, and philosophy. We gave you the stars themselves." The alien commanders watched in stunned silence as the displays showed their own species, in their earliest evolutionary stages, being carefully guided and protected by human scientists. "But we also made enemies," Lisa continued. "The Devourers threatened to destroy everything we had built. The war that followed nearly tore the galaxy apart. We won, but the victory required us to retreat and dedicate all our resources to preventing cosmic collapse." The displays showed the massive engineering projects that had stabilized galactic structure, the automated systems that had protected developing civilizations, and the sleeping chambers where humanity had waited for the galaxy to heal. "We never abandoned you," Lisa said firmly. "We sacrificed our active presence in the galaxy to ensure your survival. And now that the immediate threats have passed, we have returned to resume our guardianship." Captain Zethkar was the first to respond, his voice carrying a mixture of awe and shame. "Dr. Morgan, if what you say is true, then we have committed an unforgivable offense. We attempted to subjugate our own creators." "Not unforgivable," Lisa replied. "Understandable. You had no way of knowing the truth. Your species developed impressive capabilities during our absence. We are proud of what you have accomplished." But even as she spoke words of reconciliation, Lisa knew that the real test was yet to come. The ancient threat that had forced humanity into exile was beginning to stir once again. The automated monitoring systems throughout the galaxy were detecting the same gravitational anomalies that had preceded the Devourer attacks millions of years ago. Humanity had returned to reclaim their position as galactic guardians, just in time to face their greatest challenge once again. 3 days after the failed alien attack, representatives from every major species in the galaxy had arrived at Earth. The massive diplomatic gathering took place aboard Terra Prima, Captain Jake Williams' flagship, which had been configured as a neutral meeting ground in Earth's orbit. Dr. Lisa Morgan stood before the assembled delegates in the ship's main conference chamber. The room itself was a testament to human technological advancement, with gravity fields allowing beings from different worlds to coexist comfortably despite their varied environmental needs. The records we've recovered from the Antarctic Vault tell us everything we need to know about galactic history, Lisa began. But they also warn us about what's coming next. The holographic display in the center of the room showed current readings from monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The pattern was unmistakable to anyone who understood the historical records. Gravitational distortions were beginning to appear in the same regions where the Devourers had first emerged millions of years ago. Ambassador Crixmoth, his insectoid features showing signs of the stress that had marked all the alien delegates since learning the truth about humanity, spoke first. Dr. Morgan, our own scientists have detected these anomalies. We had assumed they were natural phenomena, but if your records are accurate, they're not natural. Dr. Kevin Hayes interrupted from his position at the control station. The Devourers are returning. Our automated monitoring systems have been tracking them for the past 6 months. They're still in the galactic void between star systems. But they're heading toward inhabited space. Captain Zethkar, who had become something of an unofficial spokesperson for the alien fleet, studied the display with growing alarm. How long do we have? 2 years, maybe 3. Admiral Roy Clark replied, through the communication link from Earth. The Devourers travel slowly, but they consume everything in their path to fuel their advance. Once they reach the outer systems, they'll accelerate rapidly. The silence that followed was heavy with fear and uncertainty. Every species represented in the chamber had legends about the ancient war and the destruction it had brought. None had believed the stories were literally true until now. War Admiral Theknon, who had been stripped of his command but allowed to participate as a cultural representative, broke the silence. If the ancients couldn't stop them permanently the first time, what makes you think we can succeed now? Lisa exchanged glances with her team before answering. Because this time, we're not alone. 3 million years ago, humanity fought the Devourers while protecting dozens of developing species. We had to divide our attention between combat and guardianship. Now we have allies who can share the burden. Dr. Carl Peterson activated another section of the display, showing the current capabilities of each galactic species. Your civilizations have developed impressive military and scientific capabilities. Combined with restored human technology, we have resources that ancient humanity never possessed. The alien delegates studied the tactical projections with growing hope. The Shalvari had perfected energy manipulation techniques that could enhance human weapon systems. The Krexnali had developed biological technologies that could repair damage faster than any mechanical system. The Ethmorians possessed computational abilities that could process battlefield data at speeds beyond anything previously imagined. But cooperation will require changes, President Helen Brooks said, joining the conference through holographic projection from Earth. The Galactic Council structure, based on species competing for resources and territory, won't work against an enemy that threatens everyone equally. Lisa activated the final section of the historical records, showing the proposed solution that ancient humanity had never had time to implement. We need to create a true galactic federation, not a council where species negotiate for advantage, but a unified government where all beings work together for common survival. The proposal sparked immediate debate among the alien delegates. Some species had been enemies for thousands of years. Others had fundamental differences in biology and culture that seemed impossible to bridge. But as the discussion continued, the reality of their situation became clear. Captain Jake Williams, monitoring long-range sensor data from Terra Prima's advanced scanning array, interrupted with urgent news. Dr. Morgan, we're getting readings from the edge of the galaxy. The Devourers have begun consuming outer rim systems. At their current rate of advance, they'll reach the first inhabited worlds within 18 months. The news galvanized the assembly. Ancient racial grudges suddenly seemed less important when faced with extinction. Species that had been at war for centuries began discussing joint defense strategies. The Vorthok military commanders offered their tactical expertise. The peaceful Shalvari proposed using their crystal technology to create galaxy-spanning communication networks. Over the following weeks, the transformation was remarkable. Ancient human installations throughout the galaxy came online to support the growing alliance. Shipyards that had been dormant for millions of years began producing vessels that combined human engineering with alien innovations. The result was a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Dr. Lisa Morgan found herself appointed as the first director of Galactic Defense, coordinating research and development efforts across dozens of species. Her team worked around the clock to integrate alien technologies with human systems, creating weapons and defenses that neither civilization could have developed alone. The breakthrough came when Dr. Nina Foster discovered the original human contingency plans in the deepest levels of the Antarctic vault. Ancient humanity had developed a theoretical weapon capable of permanently destroying the Devourers, but implementing it required resources and coordination beyond the capabilities of any single species. "It's called the Harmony Protocol," Nina explained to the assembled fleet commanders. "The idea is to create a galaxy-wide resonance field that disrupts the quantum foundations of Devourer technology. But it requires every inhabited world to participate simultaneously." The technical challenges were staggering. Hundreds of worlds would need to synchronize their energy output to create a resonance field spanning the entire galaxy. The timing had to be perfect down to the nanosecond, and any failure could result in the destruction of the very worlds they were trying to protect. But for the first time in galactic history, every species was working toward the same goal. Human engineers worked alongside alien scientists. Ancient knowledge, combined with modern innovation, the pride and prejudices that had divided the galaxy for millennia were set aside in the face of absolute necessity. Jake Williams, coordinating the military response from Terra Prima, watched with amazement as former enemies became allies. Vorthak ships flew alongside human vessels. Shalvari crystals enhanced Krexnali biological computers. The Ethmorians provided processing power that made real-time coordination possible across galactic distances. When the Devourers finally entered inhabited space, they found a galaxy united against them. The first battles were devastating, with entire star systems consumed before the defenders could respond. But each engagement provided data that improved their tactics and weapons. The final confrontation came sooner than expected. The Devourers, sensing organized resistance, abandoned their slow consumption strategy and launched a direct assault on the galactic core. Their massive feeding vessels, each larger than Earth's moon, moved toward the most densely populated systems. "This is it," Lisa announced to the galaxy-wide communication network. "All stations, prepare for Harmony Protocol activation. We get one chance at this. Across thousands of worlds, billions of beings work together to achieve perfect synchronization. Human installations provided the mathematical framework. Alien civilizations contributed their unique energy signatures. Every inhabited planet became part of a single, massive instrument designed to play a note that would resonate through the quantum structure of reality itself. The moment of activation was both beautiful and terrifying. Light erupted from every world simultaneously, creating patterns that were visible across the galaxy. The resonance field built layer upon layer until reality itself seemed to sing with harmonious frequency. The effect on the Devourers was immediate and absolute. Their dark vessels, which had seemed indestructible for millions of years, simply dissolved as their quantum foundations were disrupted. The ancient enemy that had threatened galactic civilization since before recorded history was finally and permanently destroyed. In the aftermath, as the resonance field faded and normal space-time reasserted itself, a new age began for galactic civilization. The emergency cooperation had proven that unity was not only possible, but necessary for long-term survival. Dr. Lisa Morgan stood on the observation deck of Terra Prima, watching as ships from 100 different species worked together to repair the damage from the war. Human vessels flew alongside their former subjects, no longer as masters and servants, but as partners in a shared destiny. Ambassador Crixmoth approached her. His manner completely changed from their first meeting. "Dr. Morgan, on behalf of my people and all the species of the galaxy, I want to thank you for returning when we needed you most. Lisa smiled, feeling the weight of 3 million years of isolation finally lifting from humanity's shoulders. We never really left, Ambassador. We were just sleeping, waiting for the right time to come home to our family. The galaxy had learned that true strength came not from domination or competition, but from cooperation and unity. And at the center of it all, humanity had reclaimed its role not as conquerors, but as the guardians and teachers they had always been meant to be. The ancient war was over. The new age of galactic harmony had begun.